to Movement Not Miracles. I'm Anna and this is Martha, and we're from Eat Move Be Happy. Martha's my sort of ongoing mascot for Movement Not Miracles. She tends to join in with me. So today we're going to mix it up a little bit. Movement Not Miracles is all about how you can keep mobile throughout the day. Because it's really easy for us to find ourselves sitting still for long periods of time, which probably not in the best of positions, and that can lead to poor posture, stiffening up of our joints and muscles, which can lead to aches and pains, which we want to avoid. So movement is good. So keeping things moving is a good way of starting that process off, not sitting still for long periods of time, and just keeping walking around if we can. Today's session I am going to be doing some work on the floor, so if you find accessing the floor a little bit more difficult, then you might be able to do some versions, but you might want to go and look at another session. And I am going to be using a belt. So if you need to run and get I'm using a yoga belt, but you can use a dressing gown belt, an ordinary belt, a tea towel. If you're particularly flexible, you might not need to use your belt, but that's just a heads up. Now Martha has helpfully gone and sat on my list of things to do. Oh, good girl. Let's see how we're doing. So the first move we're going to do is standing up, and we're going to do a forward bend, but a forward bend with support. So bending forwards from our hips helps us stretch through the backs of our legs, but also can stretch through our back. And if you have a bit of a temperamental lower back, then you need to do this move respectfully, which is why we're going to use some support. So you can use the back of a chair, or a work surface, or a window ledge, something that's a height that's about waist height. So as you lean forwards, you can brace your arms onto your surface. Now I was going to use my radiator, but that's not going to be as helpful. So I'm going to use the wall. So to start off with, think about having your weight evenly distributed through both of your feet. So you're standing nice and tall, shoulders back and down. So if I show you from the front, we're working on that nice, broad, across your collarbones, shoulders back and down, rather than this sort of slumped forward posture that we can find ourselves getting into. So start from a good position. So if we are using the wall, placing your hands on the wall at about shoulder height, maybe a little bit lower, and then thinking of moving backwards through your hips. So as your weight goes backwards, you can brace your hands against the wall, so you're going to get some movement through your shoulders. Now the tendency with this is to let your back arch like I'm doing there. So I've got a hollowing out of my lower back, and what I want you to think of is, if I can show you here, rather than letting your bum stick out like that, think of tilting through your pelvis. So you're trying to keep that lower back as flat as possible. So as we go back into the position, you get a nice stretch through the lower back then as well. So I can feel this in my shoulders. I'm trying to squeeze my shoulder blades onto my back chest, squeeze them together. I'm pushing into the wall. So I'm getting some extension through my shoulders, through my armpits. I'm getting extension through my back, and I'm also getting a bit of a stretch down the back of my legs. So just come up, have a bit of a tactical waggle. So we're going to do that one more time, because the second time is always better. You sort of feel where the move is, and then think about how we can, oh, it feels like Thinking Thursday from Get Moving, think about how we can improve that. So when your arms are up, if you can think of keeping your shoulders away from your ears. So there's a tendency for us to hunch up like this, which from a postural point of view is not brilliant. So we want to keep our shoulders down, which means we have to work through the muscles in our back to support our shoulder blades squeezing together. So we're going to do that one more time. So you might need to play around with how far away from the wall you are, because you need to be far enough away that your legs stay vertical and that your back can stay flat. Ooh, that's a better move. Don't forget to keep that pelvis tilted under. I just squeezed my shoulder blades together and I felt some more movement. My shoulders came away from my ears and more movement through my upper back. Okay, and just relax through that one. So we're going to take this now into a bit more of a stretch through the back of your legs. So we've sort of warmed them up gently with that one. So we're going to do this from the floor. So it's really easy when we're sitting with our legs in sort of this sort of position in a chair for muscles to shorten. So what we're going to do is think about stretching through the whole of the backs of our legs. So to start off with, if I just shuffle forwards a little bit so you can see my back. We talked about this one yesterday, not sitting on the fleshy part of our bum, sitting back into the back of a chair. So if we sit up tall and sit on the bones of your bottom, so I always think about taking my hips a little bit further back so that I'm sitting up out of my pelvis. And you should have to work quite hard. If you feel your tummy muscles, they should be working so that you're having to support your body. We're not just like existing like a blob of blancmange or jelly. So when you're sitting in that position, I'm just going to move back a little bit because I also want you to see my feet. So you're sitting up in that position, and then we, just like you've done a hip hinge movement there, so you've bent forwards through from your hips, we're aiming for the same sort of movement here. So it's not just reaching, your back doesn't stay where it is and you're trying to reach with your arms. You're trying to think of bending forwards from your hips to get hold of your toes. Now, if you can't get hold of your toes, this is where your belt comes in. So if you hook the belt, Martha, you're not helping. If you hook the belt around the bottom of your feet so that it's just underneath the balls of your foot, and then hold the belt as close to your feet as you can. And you're trying, if you can see there, I'm quite round-shouldered. We're trying to come forwards from the groin area and straighten through the back. So if you can get hold of your feet or the belt, then that helps that happen. And then I'm also working quite hard to squash my legs into the floor. So I'm pushing downwards with the muscles in my thighs, and I can feel that stretch all the way down my hamstrings, and because my toes are pointing towards the ceiling, also into my calves. And then an important thing to think about is to just relax. So think about your breathing. Shoulders away from your ears, so you're not scrunched up like this. Shoulders away from your ears. And each time you breathe out, can you move your belly button a little bit further along your legs? Now, my hamstrings are not that flexible. My hamstrings, my calves and my lower back are not so flexible that I can lay down along my thighs. But when I first started to do this, I couldn't reach my toes. So there is hope for everybody. Okay, and then just sitting up nice and tall. Holding the stretch works on the stretching of the muscles. And if you hold the stretch, then they do relax into it, and then you may be able to get a little bit more movement. If we're working on mobility, then we don't need to hold the position for as long. It's more about movement. So it's a combination of both. So now we're going to do the same sort of thing, but if you bring one leg so that the sole of your foot is resting on your inner thigh and that knee rests down to the floor. And this is where I am going to need my belt. So your belt is wrapped around the foot of the straight leg unless you are incredibly bendy. Again, sitting up on the bones of your bottom, and it's the opposite arm to the opposite foot. That was a surprise. So opposite hand, so you've got a slight twist in your body, and again, you're hinging from this hip. So now you're going to feel a bit more of a stretch around the outside of that hip and into your back on the leg that is bent. And you should still feel the stretch down the back of the straight leg. And again, we're working to bring the back, upper back forwards, chest forwards, and flatten through the back and hinge from the hip. And I genuinely didn't think I was going to be able to get hold of this foot today because my hamstrings have been a bit stiffer. But obviously my stretching is paying off. Okay, and release there, and then swap over to the other side. So, sitting up on the bones of your bottom, sole of the foot on the inside of your thigh just above your knee, let that knee relax down. Opposite, I don't need my belt today, opposite hand first, so you've got a twist through the body. And a nice relaxed breath. The more tense you feel through the rest of your body, the harder it is to stretch. So tension through other muscles has a knock-on effect. So if you can relax, apart from it just being good for us physically and therefore good for us psychologically, so if we're more relaxed through our body, we're more likely to be calmer in our thoughts. And I'm actually, I can't believe I've got quite a bit of movement there today. Okay, and relax. So that feels quite nice. So, as we've been straight through the legs, we're now going to do a movement where we're going to sit on toes together, sit on the heels and knees nice and wide, and then you're just going to fold forwards. Now again, I think of, this is child's pose, a basic yoga move. So I think of pushing my bottom backwards and reaching forwards as if someone's pulling me from my chest bone. So I'm reaching with my arms, but again, I'm not letting my shoulders come up by my ears. If I swizzle this round a little bit, you might be able to see a bit better. See if this makes any difference at all. So I'm not letting my shoulders come up like this. I'm keeping my shoulders away from my head. And if you can relax your head down, relax your head down. So a bit like the first move, I've got movement through my shoulder blades, so I'm pushing down into the floor, so I've got a nice stretch here, but now I've got some stretch through my lower back in a slightly different way. So this forward bend is quite a safe forward bend to do because you are supported if you can kneel on the floor. And I do accept that kneeling on the floor is not for everybody, and you might not be in a position where you can do it, but the whole purpose of Movement Not Miracles is to give you different ideas of stuff that you could do. Right, where are we up to? Couple more left, just keeping an eye on the time for you. So I'm going to do some side bends. So back up on our feet, standing nice and tall. Said we were going to mix it up a bit today. So side bends to get some movement through the spine. So we're staying in that nice upright position. I have my legs a little bit wider than hip width, and this one we're going for mobility. So we're not going to hold the stretch at this point or hold the move. We're going to move down that thigh, keeping that breadth across your collarbones, so we're not letting those shoulders round and we're not leaning forwards. So think of space in your body, so you're standing tall, there's breadth across your chest, and we're reaching down, encouraging as much movement through the spine as you can, keeping our spine mobile and helping it stopping to stiffen up is a good way of looking after our posture. And also in the movement you are working through, if you feel your tummy, you'll feel your tummy muscles working. So we are working through the muscles in our core and in my back, which is also a good thing. And then just introducing, just because I like these and they're good, a nice big stretch up and then reach over, down one side and over the other side, and there's the stretch. And you should get a nice stretch down that side, and then the same on the other side. It's so easy to become crumpled and slouched and hunched over, whereas if we were to just stretch a little bit more, then we're just a bit taller and there's a bit more space for things to move, which feels so much better. And then the last one, I'm going to back to the floor, we're going to stretch through the outside of our bum and introduce a bit of a twist. So again, sitting nice and tall, this time 1 foot up to the outside of the straight leg's knee. So you're bringing your knee really close to your chest and we're going to hug it in. And my butt worked quite hard last night in a training session, and I can feel that. I'm going to show you this side first so you can see what happens. I can feel this in my outer hip into my butt. So just sitting here and hugging my knee in is stretching through the muscle there. And then what I want you to think of is sitting nice and tall. Think of bringing your chest through the gap. So you're hugging that knee in and bringing your chest around. And I'm pushing on the floor behind me to get that twist in my upper back. So I've got a nice stretch down the outside of my hip of the bent leg, working hard to keep my straight leg pushed into the floor, and then working hard to keep that shoulder blade back and twisting my chest round. So you're getting the benefit of a twist and a stretch. Okay, now we'll do the other side. So you'll see. So sitting nice and tall, hugging that knee into the chest. If you are more flexible than me, you can hook your elbow on the other side of your knee, but I cannot. It has to be an incredibly bendy day for me to do that. Sitting nice and tall, taking that shoulder back. Keep hugging that knee in. And breathe. Okay? So, that's Movement Not Miracles done for another week. It does seem, the weeks do seem to be going quite quickly. We're mid-March already, and the good news for that is that daylight is getting longer, and that helps, I don't know about you, but it helps me feel better. So it's not quite as dark for quite as long, and the clocks go in another couple of weeks, so that will be even better. Spring is on the way, and with all the hope that that brings normally, hopefully this year, it will bring also a reduction in some of the restrictions that we are having. In the meantime, stay safe, stay well, keep moving. Don't forget to check out the website for more ideas on how to look after your health and well-being. We have online coaching and there is funding available if you are in the Craven area. So do contact us to find out more information. If you are ready to make some changes to your eating and exercise habits and you just need a little bit of support, then we can help you. So check out the website www.eatmovebehappy.com. Have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you next Tuesday.